Hello, my name is Hannah Neuhauser. I am a Ph.D. in musicology student here at UT Austin, a candidate, and I'll be dissertating in January. My specialty fields are in children's music and film media.
Well, welcome to the podcast and your tail end of your PhD.
I know, it's so exciting.
Yeah, but it's cool because you're doing the PhD, but you also work in religious music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're a perfect person to talk about Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah, by the way.
Yes, Chag Sameach.
Yes. So I think this is a great time. Texas doesn't have a lot of Jews. So a lot of our viewers, this will probably be like the first kind of dipping their toes into kind of Hanukkah and the music of Hanukkah, which is interesting. So why don't you just start out, just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of
Let's go from there.
Journey, yeah.
All right. Well, let's there's a couple of pockets. So yes, I am Jewish, but I grew up in a Reformed synagogue. So for those of you who aren't aware of how Judaism works in terms of hardcore, there are different levels that you can have for Judaism. So you have secular, which means you identify as a Jew, perhaps culturally, but you don't normally practice, but you still maintain the identity. You can be Reformed, which is essentially the abridged version of conservative. And you can pick and choose. Reform usually means a lot more lax. You have shorter services, but it's still the identity and cultural aspect of being a Jew. Then you have conservative, which usually means you are kosher and you are going to be more, not archaic, because that's not the right word, but more traditional in the commandments and practices. And then you have Orthodox, which is the strictest version and interpretation of the Torah, which is the original book with the Talmud, our book of prayers. And every concept is still maintaining the concept of Judaism, which is a life of community. Regardless of which tier you celebrate, the aspects are very simple, which is that you love God, you do good deeds, and you are a contributor to your community. So I've always been a big contributor to the Jewish community growing up. When you are raised in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, it's a very small town. Similar to Austin, it's one of those few artistic community hub pockets in a bit of a swing state. And there's not a lot of other Jews around. So the culture I was raised in, once we moved from England back to the States in third grade, I was fully immersed, going to Sunday school, being part of the High Holiday Choir, and Rabbi Mark Strauss-Cohn, who is our congregational leader at Temple Emmanuel in Winston-Salem during the time I was growing up, was big into music. And our cantor director, Art Bloom, two of them were truly some of the kindest souls. They wanted active participation. And what better way is there to actively participate in a holiday than singing along? So for much of my childhood, I got to sing in these choirs, and Hanukkah being truly another miracle and celebration. You get some of the most songs you do in the Jewish holiday caliber.
Yeah, so great. And now talk about where. So you're still involved, right? So you're still involved here in Austin.
Yes. So I have been working at Congregation Agudas Achim, which is at far west on Hart Drive. It's where the Jewish Community Center is, which is essentially the YMCA, but for Jews. Same facility. It's still a gym. It's a community center. It's a convention hall.
And there's like 3 synagogues there too.
Yes.
It's like a compound.
Yeah. So you got the Hillel, which is the community. It's not really a temple, but anyone can come. You have Beth Israel, which is the Reform synagogue, and Congregation Agudas Achim, which is the conservative. And I think I landed in Achim, one, because it was the first flyer I saw when I came to Austin, and I was thinking, I miss the community, or at the bare minimum, I should find a place to pray for high holidays. It's one of the few services I try not to miss during the year. Shabbat is extremely difficult to honor a day of rest when you work in the arts industry and all the events are on a Friday night or a Saturday. But the high holidays, usually you can get an excusal from the university to go celebrate and pray for that day.
Now, does conservative, do they not drive on Shabbat? Like, what is their view of Shabbat?
It depends. Driving if you're going to the temple, it's usually okay. I see people do so
It's
it can't be the worst
Austin.
one. And it's hard in Austin when you're far away. But normally you can't turn on a light switch. You cannot write or draw. You're not allowed to work or use technology. It is a more archaic version. For me, I grew up in that Shabbat was always a day of rest. So I could play music. I could watch a TV show with my family. It simply had to be a communal rest day. There's always differences. But the fact that I was trying to talk to the rabbi even about volunteering for Kol Nidre and wanting to send him an email. I can't do that. Can't send an email. He had to go to his office to find a card to give me his number because he would not write it down for me, not even type it.
Wow.
So some people are a little more traditional in terms of not doing anything other than being present on a Shabbat day. And to those who can do it, awesome. A little more difficult for me and a little more difficult for the young ones. So at Congregation Agudas Achim, I not only have led the Yom Kippur and High Holiday services for the kids for the past 3 years I've been here in Austin. I also substitute on the weekends to work with any of the K through 6 to be there with them. And for little kids who have a different attention span, it's also Sunday. They're in school 5 days a week.
Yes.
They're not going to want to pay attention or be as adherent to
learning a
Shabbaton rules or learning a language or the history on a weekend. But again, that's where the holidays can be amazing as the holidays, or at least the cornerstone holidays, such as Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Pesach or Passover, Purim, and Hanukkah are truly some of the touchstone holidays that even if your family is not as routine in practicing, these are usually the 4 that everyone learns about. Now, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur have their own traditions, but Purim, Pesach, and Hanukkah can fall into this wonderful story pattern. So I was also a peer mentor for my undergrad and would help out at all the holiday events, because when you're the only Jewish student at a Presbyterian university, because it just happened to be where I was. You can either say thank you so much, but no, and put yourself away, or you can overcompensate and say, I have to represent my people. I'm the only one here. Someone has to know. So I was very frequently involved in the round tables for everybody learning about holidays. So there would be a Kwanzaa table, there'd be a Dia de los Muertos, there'd be a traditional Christmas table, and there'd be the Hanukkah table with snacks. And my spiel would easily go like this: of how do you explain Hanukkah? You explain it in 4 steps. 1, someone tries to kill us.
Which is a constant theme.
Yes. Prejudice is always a constant theme. For some reason, someone always wants to kill the Jews for reasons unknown. And again, this is taking it in a very past historical Torah approach. I'm taking this from this standpoint. So someone tries to kill us. In Hanukkah's case, it's King Antiochus of Epiphany. And he comes in and he tries to not necessarily kill the Jews, but he tries to kill Jewish culture through bureaucratic laws. And by practicing being a Jew illegal, then you can make them more like the Greeks. And if they caught you practicing in secret, then you were executed or sent to jail. King Antiochus was in many ways smarter than the average bear, knowing I can't just get rid of them. I have to do it slowly and consistently, or else the problem will keep coming back. There will be more riots. So this was done delicately in many cases. So someone tries to kill us. God helps us. So usually God intervenes in one way or another, or even if it's just a moment of brevity or peace. So Judah Maccabee and all of his sons are tired of King Antiochus's reign, and they decide they're going to band together, they're going to build a revolution, and they are going to storm the castle, and it's going to be great. Total Princess Bride energy of where's the gate key? There is no gate key. We're just going to come on in. But the night before they're going to go do the revolution, they stop in a temple, and there is in most temples, they're going to face towards Jerusalem. So most temples in our community are going to face east, and over the Torah, which is also facing that same direction, there will be an eternal light. It's supposed to be the eternal light of God. It is always lit. So that way you always see God's presence in a physical form, not just spiritual, whenever praying. And so it's on this night that everybody's gathering and they recognize there's not enough oil for the eternal light lamp. There's just not enough to be there. And it just so happens that a miracle is there and the light does get lit. It's wonderful, and not only does it last for one night, it lasts for 8. In truth, it probably didn't last for 8. I think we exaggerated that over time. But the concept of having light, just the concept of hope symbolized, is why Hanukkah is called the Festival of Lights. It's the light of God that gave hope to the third step, which is we won. We won the revolution. It was messy, just like any revolution is, but it was over. And that leads us to step 4. Let's eat, because it's not a holiday or full celebration and less you eat. So for those of our friends who have come to Hanukkah parties, usually the food goes in 2 ways. It's always fried. It's always fried in oil, because that's celebration of the oil again that brought Nes Gadol Hayasham, the miracle that happened there, which is the light of the candle. And you have sufganiot, which are fried jelly donuts, usually with raspberry or strawberry jam in the middle. So that's one food you'll always find around Hanukkah. And then the second food is, of course, latkes, which leads us, Nathan, to our very important question. Are you applesauce or sour cream?
Oh, I hate sour cream. So I'm applesauce 100%. 100%.
We are Jews divided. It is terrible. No, sour cream. I don't know. Applesauce on its own is totally fine, and I understand it being spiced, but apples plus potatoes in my mind does not compute.
My wife, it doesn't compute with her too. She's like, I just don't get it.
No.
So, yeah.
But everybody tries their own. I do remember at my temple when I was young, we had the golden spatula competition. So everyone could join and compete for the prize by making their own style of latkes. I remember my dad's group, 2.5 Mensch, they did a jalapeno huevos rancheros version of latkes. So the latke would be the corn tortilla, like a sopa, instead underneath. And then they piled it with a bunch of toppings, which works great for the sour cream. But I remember that same year, the rabbi hired a chef and they made these funfetti birthday cake-esque latkes. And that one.
I've never had fancy ones. I've always just had the generic, just basically potatoes.
That's why you make it a competition. You got to see what other flavors you can make with it. And again, it's all about community. So food in many ways becomes a way we can share community or gelt, which is another great way, which are the chocolate coins. And you bid on those by playing dreidel. And of course, the dreidel has numerous songs. It's actually probably one of the most famous Jewish songs, bless you, Sammy Davis Jr. and many others who have recorded versions of this piece probably know the song I Had a Little Dreidel, because you can make up so many verses of it over time. Let's see if we can remember some of them. And again, this isn't more of a Jewish American song. It's not the traditional dreidel song, but it's the one of many that we know.
And these songs, at least in my experience, I wonder about your experience, tend to be sung after the candles are lit and before. So it's not like Christmas where like you just the
sing
songs might be everywhere.
All the time.
No, it's a very, and those candles don't last that long, right? It's a short window, so maybe an hour.
You're absolutely right. Unlike Christmas, where carols are played months in advance, and most of them were written by Jewish composers during the Broadway era of 1930s and 1940s. So we're still present in a way, but that's my own that's my own canon, with Irving Berlin and of course Maury Laws and many of our and Jewel Stein for Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. So that's my own canon that in a way we are being represented, just in a different hallmark of sound around the holidays. But there is is an order to how we bring in the holiday, and that is with the candles, and it's always at night. We do wait till after sundown. Judaism functions on a lunar calendar, so we wait for the sun to set for many reasons. One, it makes the light itself more significant in its glow. And two, it's at night when you can gather with your family when everybody's off work, and it allows for more people to come together at the same time. And for Hanukkah, we always have the Hanukkah blessings. Depending on the day, you'll have a different order. And a menorah, there's two things. You're good.
Our family menorah. So our dear friend of us made this for us.
Piano.
Isn't it? Yes. So for those people who are just listening, it's a friend of ours made this for us.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, it's a ceramic piano. That's what we use. So why don't you talk a little bit about the menorah?
Okay, well, it's not.
This is a very untraditional
menorah. It's untraditional, but that's okay. We can still work with this. So there's a difference between a menorah and a Chanukiah. So menorah has 7.
Oh, okay.
7 lights. Think of it as a candelabra, the kind you would see for Liberace on top of his piano. So you would have 7. It would still have a light, but that's a menorah.
So this is not a menorah.
No,
okay.
This would be a Hanukkah.
Okay.
A very non-traditional Hanukkah, but Hanukkah nonetheless, because Hanukkah are menorahs or candelabras that are specific to Hanukkah because they will have 9. So you have 8 for the 8 days. And then you have your shamash, which is always raised because it's the light that lights everything else. And lights will always go from right to left on a Chanukiah because Hebrew is read from right to left. So it's also honoring the language in that way of the order you go to. So you'll have your shamash. And once you have your shamash, you'll light your candles and you'll say the blessings, which do have their own traditional tune. And now that I'm on a podcast, instead of doing this with the community in which you can hide with the rabbi if you do it wrong, I'm going to do my best to remember this prayer. I should know it at the top of my head after singing it for 28 years. But we're in Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim avoteinu vayamim ha'am la'azman chazeh Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Chanukah. So the l'chadlik ner shel Chanukah, in sense, there's 3 that you say all on the first night. The one that you do every single time is going to be Asher shel Hanukkah, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who allows us to light the Hanukkah candle. So that's the one that always gets said every single year. But we also do another important blessing, which isn't just for Hanukkah, it's for every single important holiday. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechechianu v'kimanu v'chigianu lahazman chazeh, which is blessed the Lord our God, to the one who sustains us, welcomes us, and gives us life. So to our supporter. So we always take time on the very first night of holiday to recognize, what our 4 steps of the Hanukkah story, which is not just that we light the candle, not just the miracle, but also the fact that we were assisted in able to be helped and have this revolution to continue to have this holiday. So these blessings are always going to be the sound of Hanukkah, the sound that welcomes Hanukkah and welcoming the family together, welcoming the presence of God and enjoying it. And then after we light this beautiful Hanukkah, then we get to the fun songs.
Yes.
The very silly songs. Now, again, if you are like me and you are teaching at a Hebrew school or religious school of any sort, Hanukkah does start early because you want the kids to know the songs by the time they're ready for the holiday.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You want to get them pumped up. You want them to know many of the same with a bar bat mitzvah. You want them to know the standard prayers and psalms, so you can be ready for your yearly process when you become an adult. So for Hanukkah, there are many songs. Now everyone probably knows Chava Nagila Nismecha, which is a celebration song, which is for a hora, which is a traditional dance. And this song, which was traditionally a nigun, a song without words, has been passed over the generations, and it is a song of celebration. But it's not specific to Hanukkah. It goes for any event.
Especially weddings.
Especially weddings,
I remember
yes.
going up in the chair.
Oh, you went up in the chair.
Of course, yeah.
Who lifted you up in the chair?
Let's see. My best man was one of it, but I think my uncle was on it. But yeah, it's a scary process because, it's like, yeah. And when my wife went up, it's like my cousin wasn't quite as strong. So it was kind of tilted down. And she's like, it's not as fun as it looks.
No, it's not. And then everyone's circling around you. So it's already dizzying.
Yes,
up above you. I actually remember I taught this song to my fellow students in undergrad for an ethnomusicology report. And we lifted my professor, Joseph Matson, up in the chair because none of my fellow students volunteered. So, hooray for Joseph Matson. Thank you so much for being the teacher who goes all in so we could do the hora properly. So that is a traditional tune and it is wonderful, but it's not specific to Hanukkah. The songs that are specific to Hanukkah will either reference the miracle or reference some of the activities that we do. Will either be historic or partial to some of the games. So, for example, dreidel is the game we always play. It is a 4-sided top, and you spin it. And on each side of the table are different letters of the Hebrew alphabet. So you have a nun, gimel, hey, shin. Nun, you get nothing. Gimel, you win the pot. Gimel, as in gimme everything. Hey, you get half. Shin, shin. Now I could remind you of another word, but this is the way I remember it for myself. But if the letters do stand for Nes Gadol Chaya Sham, which is a miracle that happened there. So the game is truly a physical reminder of the miracle that we can play games and be together. But dreidels can always be made out of any material. And that's where one of the more famous songs, or at least one of the more Anglo-American songs about Hanukkah truly comes about, which is I had a little dreidel, and you can make it out of anything. Mm-hmm. So I think we know the first part, which is
clay.
The clay. Yeah. I had a little dreidel, I made it out of clay, and when I start to spin it, oh dreidel I shall play. Oh dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay, and when I start to spin it, I made it out of clay. So it keeps the call and response, which is congregational in and of itself. Jewish tradition is we have a song leader, and then we have the response of the congregation. And normally these songs are strophic. It is in major. It's not a minor key or a Dorian mode or Phrygian, as many of our traditional Jewish songs are. Hence, again, why it's this lighter, more commercial song.
It's also meant for kids.
Hanukkah, just because it's meant for kids doesn't mean it can't be traditional. But it is, it's one you can teach to about anybody because it's repetition. And kids do catch on to patterns easily. So when you have a song that's an easy pattern that anyone can pick up and also can be a volunteer, then it makes it fun because you can say, I had a little dreidel, I made it out of, and then you wait for all the kids to say their specific request. So sometimes you can say, I made it out of wood, and when I tried to spin it, it did not spin that good. So it's also your job as the song leader to try to come up with the rhyme for everyone. Or I made it out of glass, but when I tried to spin it, I did not get a pass, whatever you want. Or I made it out of bread, but I did not spin that dreidel. I ate it up instead. Yum, yum. So that's usually the final verse you keep to the end of the song. But you can go as long as you want, which is part of the fun and annoyance of this song. When you have a simple melody, you can have it go forever. But the traditional song for a dreidel is Sivivon, which does have more of the traditional sonic elements you might expect of a Jewish song. Why didn't I bring a dreidel to our podcast?
I should have too.
That's okay. We got the Hanukkah again. This is beautiful.
I should have brought. Yeah,
that's okay.
I'm great with the dreidel. I can spin it upside down. Can you do that? Like you spin it on the.
I used to be able to. My brother was great at that. I didn't have the hand-eye coordination. It took me forever to learn how to snap, and I learned with my pointer finger, not even my middle finger. So one day.
Oh, you do it like this?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Well, that was not my best. The winter weather here is becoming, but Sivivon. Sivivon so Hanukkah umatov Sivivon so Hatzima uvracha nisgad dolcheya sham Hatzima uvracha nisgad dolcheyam sham. And so it's a very simple melody, and then it repeats, and you say Sivivon so dreidel, spin, spin, spin. And Hanukkah umatov, Hanukkah is here, and Hanukkah is here, so let's spin the dreidel. Again, if we put it in English, very easy song. It's just spin the dreidel, Hanukkah's here, and then let's remember the miracle. Hatzimha uvracha nesgad dolchaya sham. Let us remember that there was a miracle that happened. There was a miracle, so let us remember today. Sivivon so. And again, very cute song. One of the things we have the kids do is they spin like a dreidel as we sing Sivivon so, and then they come back Hanukkah umatov Sivivon so. So that way they're learning more coordination and movement with the dreidel to embody what it means to be one. This only works.
That's great when you put a lot of chocolate too. Spinning kids with lots of chocolate.
Oh, yeah. And then they remember personal space so well. And then we have dreidels falling into each other. It's great. But if you want to make it even more fun. So Sivivon so is one of the more traditional songs of Hanukkah. But there are other ways you can do dreidel. With Sivivon so, Sivivon so, Sivivon so, Sivivon so, and you repeat it. You just repeat dreidel, dreidel, spin, and that's its melody. But then another group is going to have a different melody. So one of my favorite things to do when it comes to Hanukkah.
Your Hanukkah parties must be great.
Oh,
We've never broken into
Oh, this is legit. Well, my dad is also likes to be a singer. He calls himself a tenor plus.
Okay.
Well, I'm just gonna let him have it. But singing again in our temple is part of that collective community making. So it's not just singing together, but also can we sing together with different aspects of Hanukkah and having those poly melodies. So Sivivon so is one. And then we have a song about latkes, which is very simple. Again, incredibly repetitive. It goes like this. Lots of latkes, lots of latkes, lots of latkes, lots. Let's all eat them up. And so that will be going the same time as Sivivon. And then you have a third group if you want to go extra hard.
Okay.
And then you sing the song about the Maccabees. So then you got three. You got dreidel, you got latkes, and then you got the Maccabees. Historic, the food, and the game. All in a row. Doing polyphony. It's great. And so you have the Maccabee song. Maccabee, 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 Mac, 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 Maccabee, 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 Mac, Mac, Mac. But that's one of the fun is again, that collective music making of these varying points in Hanukkah. And that's not to say these aren't all the songs. I know there's the Adam Sandler put on your yarmulke. It's time for Hanukkah, which
I've never heard that at a Hanukkah party though.
Exactly, you're not gonna.
Yeah.
It's a great pop culture song, and it is memeable. But in terms of traditional Hanukkah parties, you're not likely going to hear that one. Especially in conservative groups reformed. Reform maybe. There's probably going to be that one kid who really wants to do the Hanukkah talent show and will sing that song. Because again, there's only so many songs about Hanukkah and only so many specials. Of the few Hanukkah specials I remember, actually, I wasn't even a kid. This was my ex. So my ex from years ago, during the pandemic, he came across a VHS while visiting his family. And after safely traveling and bringing it back on a DVD, I watched the Sherry Lewis specials of Lamb Chop, Charlie Horse, and Hush Puppy. And there was this beautiful, beautiful Hanukkah special with Pat Morita. It's like, okay, Mr. Miyagi talking about Hanukkah with Sherry Lewis, I'm down. And it is one of the few specials I've ever seen in which Hanukkah has been treated with one from a Jewish educator, a female music Jewish educator for kids. And this was Okay, well, if it was the original lamb chop, it would have been in the 1960s. If it was more closer to the Charlie Horse show, it would have been around the early 1990s. But that's still a long time in between of having a show that's specifically for a Hanukkah special. And the whole entire special is that Sherry is getting groceries, meets a couple of our cameo stars along the way to come over for Hanukkah dinner, and will, as they go through the special, is making latkes, does her Hanukkah blessings, so we actually get to hear those blessings. We also get to see Charlie Horse, one of the more selfish of the three kids, try to create the best avatar for a video game. And if he does, he wins $100. And in the end, after trying numerous different heroes inspired by the Hanukkah story, he puts in Judah Maccabee as his avatar hero, wins the competition, and spends the money on Hanukkah gifts for the whole family. And so it's a very sweet special and calls out in playful techniques, why do we remember Judah Maccabee? Why do we stay together and listen to the stories every year? Because music is just one of the ways we can keep stories going, even if they are in tiny, fun choruses. So I don't know if there are more Hanukkah songs or tributes. I think the last one I remember seeing was Elena of Avalor. Yes. It was a Playhouse Disney show, Elena of Avalor. And there was one episode with a visiting princess named Rebecca. And she brought with her Hanukkah and Festival of Lights. And so there's that one Hanukkah holiday special, Elena of Avalor. And that would have aired around 2016, 17. And I only remember catching it because I was working at a daycare that day and it was playing in the background. So I was able to see it. So I know of one in the past 10 years of
I've
some Jewish representation.
I've never seen one. And, I've seen lots of Christmas specials like Charlie Brown's Christmas. I mean, pretty much everything has a Christmas special.
And the Grinch. And we had, and it keeps growing. But again, this goes back to my canon that so much of, again, some of these early Christmas songs and Christmas specials were created by Jewish composers, by Irving Berlin, who is notably Jewish, by Maury Laws, by Jules Stein, by Rodgers and Hammerstein. While I don't think they wrote specifically a Christmas tune, many of their styles of music were perpetuated into the mainstream of old-time Christmas music, which is still replayed today.
Well, that old Christmas, like the 1940s Christmas songs,
1940s.
So beautiful. So beautiful, like the melodies and just everything.
Yeah, and White Christmas, which was, again, Irving Berlin, it was the first song to go platinum. It was one of the very first. And again,
well, it's gorgeous.
It's a gorgeous melody. And the concept of the D minor even D minor 7, or it's D half diminished 7. But the Christmas chord of chestnuts roasting on an open fire, this beautiful mix of a minor major melody with the 7 chord, is representative of some of the modal harmonies we have in Jewish music. So in a way, there is that sonic crossover of this melding of having touches of that augmented second and the chromaticism typical in Jewish music. And every now and then in the older Christmas songs, you just have touches of it. Not a lot. And again, this is from my deep dive into this years ago, because for fun, I wanted to make a mock academic presentation as a joke for something to do with the family. Again, this is not to say I hate Christmas specials. I don't. I love them. Santa Claus was coming to town and all the Rankin Bass specials. Oh my God. I watched those so much. I still watch those. Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas from Community. Dear Lord, it was on my floor in my undergrad all the time. So I grew up with these Christmas specials just as much. And all Christmas stories usually have that family element of something new coming together and just that soft miracle that reminds you of a family time. And it does make me wonder, where are these? For Hanukkah, surely we have many. Or again, it depends on where you live. We do live in Texas, and our main Jewish community center is really on Far West. That's our main one. But it is, I will say, it's a sizable community. I was not expecting it to be as big as it was and as rich in camaraderie. they have been incredibly welcoming. And it's one of those things where, it always inspires more community action. So for me, as I've been going back and forth in my own way of community, it's a lovely reminder to have a pull to come back and to share, because the holidays, if holidays are all about sharing and gift giving, what is a better gift than learning new music that you can sing, just to say, hey, you don't have to know everything about the holiday, but here's a snippet of just one example to share.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate coming on, even though I'm not necessarily an expert.
You sound like a real expert. So it's
I think
so
I've just sung
interesting.
these songs too long, but if
Yeah.
that makes you an expert, I'll take it.
No. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. So this has been wonderful.
Oh, it's beautiful. And thank you for bringing this gorgeous Hanukkah for our friends and family.
Yeah.
So,
Iris, our friend Iris made this, and she came and she gave it to us, and we just love it. So I don't know if like a true one, like a rabbi is supposed to bless it or whatnot, but this is the reform version.
It's a reform version. You've blessed it in that it's gotten the family approval to be used every year.
It has, yeah. So great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.